Well, hello everybody. It's Tara Boothby and Megan just Mancini.
Hello.
Both of us from Sojourn Psychology, and we are actually working in our offices. So we thought let's do a little bit of a social distance vlog.
Yeah, it feels good to be back in human.
It is nice to be in human.
Yeah.
Hey, it's like, oh man. I just appreciate seeing everybody around the office, but then here we are.
Especially you.
Oh, especially
Yeah.
you.
We're going to talk about ego today. Yeah.
So what we were talking about, a few different things, but one of the topics that we were just thinking about was growing up, different milestones of life, and these sort of just happenstance moments that really teach us a life lesson. So I guess for you, Megan, when you're thinking about those pinnacle experiences that maybe were cultivated by adults or just something that noticed, what sort of comes to mind for you?
So I think about a time, it was my first drama class that I took when I was in grade 10, and I was at Harry Ainley in Edmonton. And our first assignment for class was to go to the rotunda. So in the center of Ainley, there's like kind of a huge rotunda auditorium. So our assignment was to go at lunch. So everybody, well, the pre-COVID, everybody would gather around that area and eat lunch many years ago, in the olden days. And right in the center, there was like a little metal thing in the ground. So our first assignment was to go during lunch, bend over in the middle of everybody in the school eating lunch and read what was written on this metal circle and bring it back to him and let him know what it said. And I can remember, I'm in grade 10, I'm so self-conscious. I think everybody's eyes are on me, everybody's watching every move that I make, kind of typical teenager concerns. And so I was so anxious, but I am a type A personality, so I had to bring back that piece of information to my drama teacher. And I went and I bent over and I got the information. And I remember doing it and sitting back down and realizing that not a single person in the entire rotunda, except for my friends who were making fun of me, but they're supposed to, but not a single person in the auditorium had noticed. And so that was a really big lesson that, especially at that age, this teen age where you're anxious about what everybody's thinking about you, it was just a nice lesson that nobody cares and nobody notices. And that was really empowering for me then and also moving forward through life. So.
Yeah, that's a great story. I have not the story that I was thinking of. That's a big life lesson, but I remember I was probably 19, 20, and I was talking to one of my friends, and I can be very over analytical. I think, and then I make myself anxious. So I remember talking to her and spelling out this big long story, and I was thinking about all the dynamics. I'm thinking about what they were thinking and the color of the walls or whatever I was torturing myself with. And my friend just said, other people just don't think that much. And I remember going from that conversation into the school cafeteria, because I lived in the dorm, and seeing my friend, and I was like, oh, he just doesn't think that much. It wasn't a romantic friend, it was just like a social friend, but it was still, I'm like, oh my word, such an epiphany to just slow down and not work so hard up top. But there was this other time when I was in college. I was in a night class, and there's probably 60 people in there, and we had this instructor, and he was just so wise and thoughtful and worldly and had experienced so much. And the one night class, actually I should say, he always wore the same sweater. Every class he wore the same sweater with fish on it. And then about the 8th class in, he comes in and his shirt's on inside out. And everybody was buzzing. We're like, what does this mean? What's the lesson here, the object lesson? And halfway through the class, it was a 3-hour class, so we'd have a break in the middle. Somebody came up to him and said, doctor, I just have to ask, what's the object lesson here? Your shirt's inside out. He goes, well, I got dressed in the dark. And so, and he said his wife was sleeping and he got up and he just put a shirt on. So I think he had been wearing the shirt inside out all day, actually, and nobody told him, which is one piece. But I remember just being so aware of like his disposition. He's so wise. He was a thoughtful individual, and he was so gracious towards himself in that moment. Like it was just like, oh, whatever, my shirt's on inside out. I don't even know if he went and flipped it around actually. And then the humor of it, like he could sit with it and kind of chuckle at himself. And so we look at people, we put them on a pedestal, and then to know that they're just human, that there's just this silly little story about wearing your shirt inside out. So that was a big actually life lesson for me.
I like that. And in listening to that story, what I take from that too is our brains have a tendency to want to interpret everything. We want to make sense of everything, and sometimes we can overinterpret situations. We draw
Yes.
meaning from things that are meaningless. And so to be aware that not everything is symbolic of something greater.
Exactly.
Sometimes it just is getting dressed in the dark.
Yeah, and I think all of these little life lesson stories that we're talking about are all just like a challenge to be present. Like there's something about just being in life, having the experience, seeing how people respond, and that's enough. And there isn't some sort of existential find Jesus moment in everything.
That's right.
Awesome. Okay, thanks, Megan.
Thank you, Tara. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Comment your story below.
Yeah, actually. Good idea.